Life becomes lighter when you stop waiting. Not because all problems disappear or everything starts aligning perfectly, but because you stop fighting reality. Expectations are the invisible strings we tie to every moment, person, and event, only to feel pain when those strings inevitably snap. We live in a world built on expectations. Society expects you to be successful, your loved ones expect you to be convenient, and you expect yourself to be perfect, confident, calm, productive, inspired. Yet the more you expect, the further you drift from life itself, because life was never meant to fit into our designs. It was meant to unfold. Every expectation is a subtle trap. It blocks your ability to see what's already here. You wait for recognition and overlook the love that already surrounds you. You chase success and forget that you're already moving forward. You wait for the perfect moment and miss the present one. You hope someone will finally understand you, while you never pause to understand yourself. We live as if standing on a train platform, certain that the real life is the next train that's about to arrive. But that train is already here. It's your today. When you let go of expectations, something strange happens. A quiet sense of peace begins to fill the space inside. At first, it feels like losing direction, as though without expectations there's nowhere to go. But that's not loss, it's return. Expectations make life linear, point A to point B, success at the end of a long climb. Without them, life gains depth. Every day becomes full, every moment alive, every breath meaningful. To live without expectations means to stop labeling life with how it should be. Because every time we decide how things should go, we silently declare that anything else is wrong. And that's how we start fighting, with the world, with others, with ourselves. We feel anxiety because reality refuses to follow our plans. We feel pain because people don't meet our hopes. We feel resentment because life doesn't go according to our script. But maybe the script isn't needed at all. Maybe reality already knows where it's going better than we ever could. A life without expectations isn't passive. It's not apathy, not surrender, not carelessness. It's openness. It's the ability to greet each day not with a pre-written scenario, but with curiosity. When you stop expecting, you start noticing. You begin to see the details, the colors, the coincidences that were invisible before, because they weren't in your plan. Letting go of expectations is the most honest thing you can do, for yourself and for the world. Because expectations aren't simple wishes, they're demands. We don't just want things to go well, we insist that they go our way. And by doing that, we shrink the space of possibility. The world doesn't have to obey you to be kind. It doesn't need to fit your picture to be beautiful. Here's the paradox. The less you expect, the more you receive. When you stop clinging to specific forms, life offers you substance. When you let go of your rigid idea of how things should be, life reveals how they actually are. And it's often better, deeper, more meaningful than you imagined. Expectations blind us, because we stare not at life itself but at its supposed shape. When we release them, our vision clears. A world without expectations is a world without constant inner conflict. You stop dividing people into those who met your hopes and those who disappointed you. You stop attacking yourself for not being enough. You begin to understand that nothing ever really went wrong. It simply went its way. And that's enough. When you live without expectations, you stop demanding that life always feels celebratory. You begin to find beauty even in its ordinary rhythm. But how do we do it? How do we actually let go? Because expectations don't dissolve overnight. They are woven into how we think, how we plan, how we protect ourselves. And yet, we can start by noticing that inner moment when it should have been different arises. When frustration builds because someone didn't act right. When disappointment hits because something didn't turn out as you wanted. That moment, that sting, is where expectation breaks. Instead of rushing to fix it, let it fall apart. Life changes the moment we stop defining it through should. There's a quiet freedom in allowing yourself not to know how things are supposed to be. To let the day unfold without judgment. To stop rewriting the script and simply observe how it writes itself. When you release expectations toward others, relationships become alive again. You stop interacting to get something, approval, love, attention, and begin to simply be with another human being. And paradoxically, that's when true closeness appears. Because real connection is born not from fulfilling roles, but from presence. When you release expectations toward yourself, tenderness returns. You stop waging war against who you are. You stop punishing yourself for being tired, for hesitating, for not fitting into someone else's picture. You begin to feel relief, the quiet, liberating sense that you don't have to be perfect to be worthy. And when you release expectations toward life, trust begins. You stop fearing that everything is going wrong. You realize that life doesn't need to be understandable to be right. Even chaos can have order, just not the kind you can list in a notebook. Letting go of expectations is, in truth, returning to reality. And reality is the only place where life actually happens. Everything else, what could have been, should have been, might be someday, are just echoes of imagination. We spend years in that someday, blind to the fact that the real thing is passing by right now. When you stop waiting, you reclaim your time. It ceases to be a bridge between dream and reality. It becomes the living space itself. A life without expectations is a life without constant tension, without the exhausting chase for validation, without the fear of things going off plan. It doesn't mean you'll never feel pain. It means pain will no longer define you. It doesn't mean there won't be disappointment. It means disappointment will lose its sting, because it only exists where expectation was built. Life doesn't have to be perfect to be real. It doesn't have to be grand to be meaningful. It just is. And that's already enough. When you stop waiting, you start seeing. When you stop demanding, you start feeling. When you stop controlling, you start trusting. And maybe that's when something long sought finally arrives. Peace. That quiet state where there's nothing left to fix because everything is already in its right place. Where there's no need to rush because nothing has been missed. Where there's no need to wait because life is already unfolding. Right here, right now.